I'm like the Tommy Wiseau thing.
Hey everyone, we are LDG. I'm Brooks.
I'm Kitty.
And I'm Lizzy.
And we are lucky enough to be joined by Jeff Chin of Road to Infamy Games today. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, so we're really excited about your Kickstarter that is booming, to say the least, right now for the Canvas Reflections expansion. So I'm sure you're really proud of how it's doing right now.
Yeah, it's been really great. Had a lot of support, and it was just really cool to see how many people kind of lined up on day one, had the pre-launch notifications in, and it was just really awesome to see so many people just like so excited and ready for it to come out, and like just great feelings all around. And so I'm really appreciative to everyone who's backed so far.
The first iteration kind of took the gaming industry by storm. I mean, it was an exciting little powerhouse of a game you put out.
Yeah, that's really nice of you to say. Yeah, I'm glad it comes off that way. Like, it certainly feels like of all the games that I've worked on, it definitely has a very special place to me because it certainly feels like it has the most unique mechanisms to it, unique components, and so it just feels like it helps it stand out a little bit.
For sure, yeah. So we're going to kick off with a few questions about kind of how you got into it in general. What kind of got you into game design to begin with?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's something that's always fascinated me. Going back to like high school, I used to play a lot of D&D with my friends, and I would always take on the dungeon master role. And I would always do like completely original campaigns. I never liked to do the like the pre-canned ones, and we ended up playing like year-long campaigns that I would be like planning and coming up with on the fly, and it was always a really good time. People were like, oh yeah, you should like, turn this campaign into something. And so I tried to like reproduce some of these campaign experiences into like reproducible games you could play, and realize like, oh, this is basically just a board game. This is what game design is. You like test stuff and you make a reproducible, fun experience. So that was kind of my first take at that. And beyond that, that kind of evolved into going from Dungeons and Dragons to a more original RPG that me and Andrew were working on in like college, and it was a Hunger Games themed RPG where we had 24 players playing all at the same time. It would take like a month long to play while they would all try to kill each other. And it was really fun. And we would do this every year. We would have like our annual Hunger Games and get all our friends to play it. And every year it got a little bit better. We would revise rules and things, and that was probably like the first like real original game that we had made totally from scratch.
That's exciting. That's awesome. And I kind of feel that as inspiration because not Liz, not as much with RPGs yet. We're trying to get her into it. But Kitty and some other people in our group, we do Mothership. And we've been doing about a year-long campaign with that too. So, and I'm the game runner for that too. So I feel it. That creativity is definitely there when you make your own campaigns. So.
Speaking of, sorry.
I was just going to say, you guys might have got a kick out of the Hunger Games RPG because it was very much a long distance game that we played. It was like college friends and just like all these people we knew from all different parts of life, and we got them all to play this one game like digitally, remotely, and we would all kind of play at the same time. And it was a lot of fun. So you guys might have been into something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, we try to take every single thing that's put in front of us and translate it long distance like this, and them, so
exactly. But going back to the inspiration of things, I was just curious, what was your inspiration for creating Canvas specifically?
I remember a few years ago playing Mystic Vale for the first time, which is a really fun game. And but at the end of it, I was like looking at my cards, and I was like, I just wish these pictures like did something together. Like, it just felt like such a missed opportunity. And then I just spent months thinking about like how would you make the pictures actually line up and feel like something cool? And Andrew and I just like argued about that for months on end, being like, oh, that's not possible. You can't have these random pictures line up and have them look okay together. And then we kind of developed this, I guess we call it like our zone system. So like each card in Canvas has swatches at the bottom of it. There's the 5 swatches, and then they each have a combination of 2 swatches. And so depending on that combination of 2 swatches, the illustration occupies a different zone on the card. And it's really hard to explain. I should
actually, because of our remoting, we separate them into the different colors. So that was something I noticed was, oh, the red greens occupy this general area of the card, and then the red yellows occupy this general. It's actually a really nice, really cool way you did that.
Yeah, and actually it worked perfectly for remoting. So.
Yeah. Yeah, helps you separate them into the different piles for your remote version of it for sure. But yeah, it also helps like make sure the illustrations look correct as often as possible, because you would never put like a red yellow card on top of a red yellow card because the other card would be completely negated. So it ensures that like compositionally you get like some nice variety and spread out elements in each completed painting.
Well, as hard as you worked on trying to make sure they layered beautifully, some members of our group try to make the worst paintings possible every time they play.
I do not try to make the worst. That's how I get the most points.
Uh-huh.
I'm just a very weird artist. What can I say? But speaking of different remote hacks, we also went through and we named all of the background cards to help us, kind of find each other's really quickly. And I know you commented on one of our Instagram posts about that at one point you had a use mechanically for those cards. And I wondered if you could maybe talk about like previous iterations of Canvas or different changes you made before you got to the final product.
Yeah, there was definitely a version I was working on for the expansion for Canvas Reflections where the backgrounds had various victory point amounts, very similar to what you guys had kind of come up with. And depending on which background you used, you could potentially score points for leaving certain swatches uncovered. We ultimately ended up cutting that because it felt a little hard to plan for and wasn't quite building into the strategies, and it was a little bit like randomly rewarding. So that ended up not making the cut. But let's see, some other old versions of it, trying to think what other crazy things we did. In the very first physical prototype I ever made of Canvas, the thought was that it would be a more abstract art style. And so I actually had cards that could like rotate in any orientation in addition to being layered in different orders. So, but that was just like
splattery kind of.
yeah. Obviously, like if you have more representational art, it gets a little wacky looking if you have like upside down elements and stuff. So there was weirdly too many combinations with that, and B, there was it was weirdly too easy to get the icons to line up exactly where you wanted them in the swatches, because you could just like freely rotate each card, and it was just like super easy. So that was a strange version of it. Andrew had made his first prototype of Canvas had the cards. There was like a pool of foreground cards, a pool of midground cards, and a pool of background cards. And you were always like, so there wasn't really a choice in the layering. Like everything was kind of predetermined where it would be. And that was kind of before we had established a system to make the compositions look good. That was kind of his solution to that. So yeah, we've definitely, we went through a lot of versions before we landed on the kind of 5 swatch system.
That which works really great.
The system you landed on is beautiful, and the cards are incredible. So,
well, thanks.
Yeah, which some of the cards. Speaking of which, I'm wearing Black Lives Matter shirt. I noticed like your revolution is like looks like the Black Lives Matter protest. Then you have Pride in there. I was wondering, how did you decide to put like some of the social issues of today into your art, into your game?
Yeah. So trying to think where that originally started. Actually, the protest card, we came up with that concept, and it was illustrated kind of before the Black Lives Matter was kind of coming to the forefront of the news and everything. It was actually more around the time of like the Hong Kong protests. So that was more the inspiration for that card. Yeah.
I just think it's amazing because that kind of representation is really important. We always look for that kind of stuff in any game we play. We're kind of sticklers for that, especially even when, if it's a small game, large game, it doesn't matter. We like to see that everyone is represented. So I think that's really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's important too.
Okay.
So yeah, I know that the expansion itself has a new mechanism, the whole flipping thing. Was that something you were going to put in the first one? You weren't quite sure if it would work yet, or is that something you just came up with totally new for this expansion?
It was something we had talked about, but never actually tried it until working on the expansion. I know we had kind of talked ourselves out of the idea a few times. We're like, oh, that's way too many options. That's way too confusing. And then I just decided to go ahead and make it, and it actually worked okay. And we started out with we're like, what if the expansion just has like 10 cards that are flippable? It won't be too overwhelming. And then the more and more we played, we're like, oh, these are the best cards. Like, let's just make them all flippable. Like, this is awesome. And people were just like really excited about the flipping cards. We're like, yeah, this expansion has to be about these like mirror cards.
Well, I'll tell you, coming from the perspective of people who are addicted to your game anyway, and as you could tell by the little hacks we did for the background cards and everything, we actually said we would love it if some of the cards were flippable. So it was really exciting to see that.
Yeah.
We'll take as many mechanisms as you can throw into it because it's one of our favorite games ever. So
yeah,
play all iterations. So besides, caring so much about representation and things like that, we also really love it when game companies do charity work, etc. And I noticed that you have something on Snow City Arts, which I was really curious about because I love art. I think it's so important to get to people out there. And also I'm from Chicago. So as like a Chicago local, can you tell me a little bit more about that charity?
Yeah. So Snow City Arts provides one-on-one programming for kids in hospitals in the Chicago area. I think one of the big hospitals that they work with is like Rush Hospital. So we thought that was just like a really good a good charity for this mini expansion. For those watching that aren't familiar, so on the Kickstarter campaign, we decided to make the previous mini expansion from the first campaign available, and all the proceeds from that mini expansion will go to charitable foundations like Snow City Arts and other similar organizations that promote arts in an educational format or for kids in hospitals, things like that. So we just think like it's so fitting, a game like Canvas that I think really helps people kind of explore both creatively, logically. I just think it's really neat, super helpful organization, and we're really happy to help out wherever we can there.
Yeah, and it's a really impressive way to support the arts anyway. So.
Great. And then, so those were from your prior Kickstarter that were Kickstarter exclusive. I'm just curious, what advice could you give, looking back to your current Kickstarter, your former Kickstarter, to people who want to try to do Kickstarters? What advice would you give them on what you've learned and how to run a Kickstarter?
Oh man, yeah, that's a tough question. Let's see. Yeah, I would say it's a lot more work than you think it's going to be. It's really like a full-time commitment to that month that you're running the campaign. It's really important to be involved in communities before you launch. We found like a lot of Facebook groups, and the subreddit R Board Games is really awesome. really great positive communities where people are just like excited about new projects and new content. People just want to like talk about it and share each other's work. And so getting involved in those communities before you launch a project is really important, so that you're a little more established in those communities and you don't come off as just like trying to spam people with your Kickstarter links and stuff like that. I think that's been like really huge for getting some like initial traction and in Kickstarter campaigns. And usually day 1 and day 2 are the strongest days before the final days, the final hours. And so you really need to have your kind of marketing and outreach all in place so that you have the big push in the first 2 days.
Well, we have to say, I think you've done pretty well on it. It's just surging like not very many I've seen lately. So we're really excited about it. And we're glad such a cool, accessible kind of crossover game is reaching so many people. So we're excited about that. We're not going to keep you much longer, but one thing that we do when we play Canvas is that we kind of make a game out of, after we're finished, whatever we've created, analyzing each other's personalities because of whatever insane art show we've created afterwards, because we're weird like that. Like to do that. So we're gonna do a quick little BuzzFeed style personality quiz for you.
Okay.
See what your art card would look like at the end. Okay, so
sounds great.
It's just gonna be an either or choice for each, and they're obviously really important questions. So I'm going to take it seriously if you can. So first, one of these never existed, and you have to choose which one never existed. And we did a little sleuthing in your Board Game Geek ranks, so hopefully this was a tough decision. Catan or Scythe? One of these.
Oh man, pick one to never exist.
Never exist from this point on. You don't ever get to
Oh no. Oh no.
You got to play it. You know what it's like to play it, but you don't get to play it anymore.
Right. Okay. Oh man. So Catan will always have a special place in my heart because that is my gateway board game into the hobby. Without that, like, I don't even know if I would have discovered board games the way I did, or, you know, could have been much longer before discovering my gateway game. I don't play it anymore, hardly at all. So I might have to choose that one to rule out. Just Scythe is also, like, that's my favorite game of all time. I've literally just played it, like, the digital version of it today, so I can't live without it.
And that's a high endorsement because we've actually never played Scythe, the two of us.
Whoa. Oh,
I know, they're missing out.
This has been dogging us to play it, so we're excited. But good choice, good choice. I think that's hard.
Yeah. Okay, and now this is a very practical one. You have been, you're on a deserted island. It's a desert island, and you have one of two things that you can have with you. Either a car with no gas, it cannot run, or a refrigerator full of perishable foods with no electricity.
I'm taking the refrigerator for sure.
I'm just gonna.
I need some snacks. Like I'll eat it all real fast. It's not going to waste. I snack all the time, and I'm not at all mechanically savvy at all. So a car that doesn't run is literally worthless to me.
Okay,
for me, I would have had it as shelter. Yeah.
I mean, I would jump on that because I think I'd answer the same exact way.
I just say, don't feel bad if everyone chose the food.
So last one, and again, super important. Only one can exist, another deathmatch. Twitter or Reddit?
Oh, definitely Reddit gets to exist. I don't do Twitter at all. Like,
okay,
I don't know if you've looked at my, like the R2I Twitter account is basically a defunct page. I don't post on it.
I feel like I feel like Reddit would win anyway because it would fight kind of dirty.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, well, first I will show you what you created, and then I'll show you what you did not create.
If you can believe it, that Insanity did create an art piece.
I love it. I love it.
So you created an unashamed obstacle.
Oh.
With your teeth.
So that's just a little snippet of how much excitement your game actually does bring. I know it was goofy and kind of weird, but we have so much fun when we sit there and we it's more than just the strategy of putting the art cards together. It's really fun, and it's important for a gaming group who we're kind of fractured because Liz lives in Ohio and I moved from Ohio and we live in New York now. So it kind of dissolves that space between us for a little while we play it. So it's important. We like to highlight games that do that for us. So we're excited about your game. We're excited about your surging Kickstarter. It's on until 5/11, right?
That's right.
Awesome. So
get on it.
anything else you want to plug while you're on here?
Yeah, I don't think so. Just thank you so much for having me on here. This was really fun, and maybe we can do this again sometime for the next project.
Yeah, I would love to. Can't wait
awesome.
to see what else you got cooking.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, thanks so much, Jeff. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Also, if you find value in our content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let a family or friend member know that we exist. Help us spread our channel and bring remote gaming to a table near you. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Thanks for wasting your Wednesday with 3 years.
Oh no, not wasted. Definitely not wasted.
We're excited. So
That was awesome.
yeah,
I do love your art creation.
Hey, it's better than half the ones that Kitty does when we play.
Yeah.
And Liz's are always very aggressive, like things are burning or things are. She always uses darkness or the dragon. So
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen the new rule book for the expansion where we've added the Masterpiece Award. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's at the end.
Ribbons.
Yeah, at the end of the game, you discuss the meaning of your artwork, and then someone gets the masterpiece ribbon for it. And
Literally what we do. That's amazing.
yeah, exactly. Like, who doesn't do that anyway? So we're like, I don't know, just make it a little extra fun, and now you get to like hold a piece with it, and you feel extra special. It's always like such a good feel good, just fun moment that everyone likes to do with their game anyway. So.
Yeah, it was definitely an awesome piece. I was like, oh my goodness, that is so awesome. Now we can make a worst one and a quirkiest one.
Right.
Please make the worst one.
You just want me to get all of those all of the time.
You revel in it. You know you do.
I do. I'm like the Tommy Wiseau thing.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Jeff. We'll let you go, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Take
thank
care.
you for
Yeah,
taking
well, it's
the
great
time.
meeting you guys.
And I'd love to talk to you again.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks.
Talk to you guys soon. All right, bye.